Okay, I think we are going. Yep. Okay, my name is Nicole Sauter, and today I'm going to be presenting on culturally competent teaching, including some key strategies and resources that you as educators can use to create more inclusive classrooms. We're focusing on diversity, DEI, equitable classrooms today. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is define three key terms. These are often used interchangeably, but it's important to understand that they are different from each other. Culturally competent teaching focuses on the teacher's ability to understand and respect. It's very baseline. So going on from that, we're going to have culturally responsive teaching. So almost like in response to you understanding, we're going to focus on actually including the students in that response. So culturally responsive teaching uses a student's cultures and experiences in the classroom. And then culturally relevant teaching, again, builds on responsive. And now we're going to go to empowering the students in our classrooms and giving them perspective and the opinions to connect their identities to real world experiences. All three of these are needed to have an equitable classroom. Okay? The next thing that we're going to talk about are those examples. So just in case you were a little bit confused, we have the three again in the same order. So we're going to go with competent first. This is just learning the students' backgrounds, surface level building connections, and being respectful to all students in the classroom. Like I said, then we go to responsive, and that's more encouraging and maybe doing a lesson about certain religions or cultures that are represented in your classroom. And the last one is actually building on that. This is the hardest one to do for a lot of teachers, is actually building on specific backgrounds in your classroom and applying them to real world concepts. So this might be if you take The Outsiders, for example, just knowing that you have students who live in an urban area, that would be the choice for The Outsiders. Then culturally responsive would be encouraging discussions about the reading. And lastly, we might do a community or presentation type project that relates students' perspectives to maybe a character from The Outsiders. Okay? Why this matters is really important. So this approach encourages student engagement and motivation. It builds inclusive, respectful classrooms. The academic success for your diverse learners skyrockets. Nobody likes to be in a class where they don't feel respected or engaged. So this is all building on your classroom management and your classroom environment. And lastly, we have promoting the gaps, which we know that those minorities sometimes fall into, and connecting to real world situations. Okay. All right, today we're just going to focus on 5 teaching strategies that I use in the classroom that I know help out. I'm specifically a librarian, but this could also be for your classroom teachers, homerooms, specialists, providers, anything like that. So first we have building relationships with the students, which we know is huge to gain their trust, to get their motivation high. We have inclusive curriculum, which I know a lot of us are not in charge of actually writing the curriculum, but selecting texts that are going to appear in our libraries, selecting ways of presenting the information needs to be inclusive. We should have high expectations for everybody across the board. Now, I'm not saying, provide students with no help or support, but we should have high expectations for all. The learning should be student-centered. Long gone are the days where the teacher stands in front of the classroom and actually gives a presentation. We want to involve the students in their own learning. And lastly, I think the most important is to be a reflective practitioner. All right, so we're going to get into all of these. All right, just a little bit about each one. Building student relationships. So we want to include students as much as we can in everything that we do on a day-to-day situation. So just standing in the hallway and doing your duty is one thing. Standing in the hallway and doing your duty while also asking the kids, how was your weekend? What did you do this weekend? Commenting on maybe something that they did. A great thing to do is ask around the holidays, what is your family doing for the holidays? And then also catching back up with them and saying, hey, how was your Passover? Just a simple way to get involved with the students' culture a little bit. Okay, we'll move on from there to our next one, which is creating an inclusive classroom. You're going to have special education. You are going to have minorities. You are going to have a diverse classroom. That is something that nobody warned me when I first started teaching. I was a special education major. However, I was under the impression that I would always have an aide in my classroom. I was under the impression that, I just had to stick to the curriculum and that was that. So we're really focusing here on including everybody in everything that you do. So even if it's just changing your language for now, that's a great single step. So a long time ago when I was in school, they would say, good morning, boys and girls. I know a few people have switched their language. Mine is good morning, students is easy. Good morning, scholars is easy. Good morning, friends, if you're with the little ones. Just changing a single thing that you do is on the right on your way to creating inclusive classroom. That's just one example. Okay? The third one that we're talking about today is high expectations. So like I said before, we still want to stay within a child's ZPD. Shout out Vygotsky. We want to hold all students to high expectations. So that means instead of saying, oh, my bad. Instead of saying, oh, Cameron has a really rough home life, we're not going to assign him any homework. We're going to still assign Cameron the homework, but maybe we're going to give him some support with that homework. We're going to avoid trying to stress students out and going above what their ZPD is. However, we still want to encourage all students to meet a certain expectation. Even if that expectation looks a little bit different for special ed, we're still supporting. And we're still going through the motions and encouraging students to do their best. Okay? Going off of what I just said, student-centered learning. Long gone are the days of teachers standing in front of the classroom. We want to focus the learning responsibility on the students themselves. So again, giving them the tools to be able to figure it out themselves will also increase motivation. One way to do this is to do partners or groups. Again, shout out Vygotsky with the social constructivist view. Kids learn from other kids. That's not to say that you're not there to be a mentor for them, but it is just something to note. Okay, next slide. All right, this is the one that I really want to hit home on today, reflection and change. I don't expect a veteran teacher of 50 years to reinvent the wheel. What I do expect is that you think about little tiny ways that you can change to make your classroom more inclusive, to make your words more inclusive, to raise the stakes a little bit in your classroom. When kids are done with their work, what do you actually have them do? Are they just allowed to start their homework for the night, or is there another challenge activity? You can even ask the students. You can say, hey, when you guys are done, would you prefer to, if it's a math class, maybe they work on a Sudoku. I've seen that done in the back of the room. Or that might give you an option to work with struggling students and then have them start their homework early so that you can be there. Either way, you just want to think about what went well during my lesson and what didn't go well during my lesson. Obviously, you see these two people that I have over here. I am constantly redoing my lessons. What we don't want to do is keep recycling our lesson plans for the next year when they're not quality lessons. I have definitely been either of these two women that are sitting with their heads saying, oh my God, what just happened? Especially being a specialist in the library, I have been there multiple times where I'm like, wow, that went so poorly. And that's fine and dandy. However, we don't want to repeat that if we have anything to do with it. So if you take nothing away from this presentation, please understand that after every lesson that you teach, after interaction that you have with students, always be thinking, how can I make that better? Okay? These are just a few resources. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they are actually all clickable links. So I'm just going to go back here. Justice for Learning. Edutopia and Other People's Children. These are all fantastic sites just in case you're a little bit unfamiliar with culturally responsive teaching. I have a few more over here. This one's an actual article. This one's fantastic. I actually was assigned this by a professor, I wish I knew which one, at William Patterson during my time. And it really does do a good job of explaining how students are viewed. And the last one is over here. But that's Just Good Teaching, A Case for Culturally Responsive Pedagogy. That one's another great read if you have the time. I'm not going to go over it now because I'm already over my time. And here are my references, so if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, have a great day.